Yeah, Brady Bunch. Peter. Peter was there, and don't you remember Alice? Alice, their maid. A maid. Yeah, Pete. He goes, "What are you having?" And Peter, she says, "Oh, we're having pork chops and applesauce." No, anyone? No one else remembers that? All right, enough of that. Pork chops and applesauce. Bobby Brady. No, Peter Brady. Okay, let's do this tonight. How is everyone doing? My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws, and this is our Wednesday night live class. It is, we get together every Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and we have a little portrait class. It usually lasts anywhere from about half an hour to 40 minutes, but it gets us all together and gives us a chance to draw. Let's see. So if you're new here, I just want to give you a big warm welcome. We have a very active Facebook group. You might want to check that out, and we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But since you're here, we will get rolling. Let's see. We were just talking about the phrase pork chops and applesauce. And look at Christina. Yeah, it's a great comment. Pork and apples. That's a great combination, however you're going to eat it. All right, let's get into this. So, remember, last week we talked about drawing a head as a cube or a square. Well, we could do that today because today usually I don't draw a face looking straight at you, and you can see here's my little skull. The head is very flat along the sides. It gets very round when you look at the side. From the front, it's very flat. So we're going to take a look at that. Just remember that as we go about doing this. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a sphere, and then we'll just kind of slice off the edges. All right. So let's just start. We'll go with the sphere here. That's a good starting point. And look at let's put in the brow line. Brow line is a great starting point. Now, mind you, look at this brow line. It's not exactly flat. There is a slight tilt to it. So get that tilting. I'd rather have you tilt this too much than not enough, okay? Then we're going to draw center line. Just come down here like this, like a center line. All right? Okay. So we're going to use that center line now right away and kind of trim off the sides. So go ahead and drop that in. I'm just going to kind of erase mine here. All right. Okay, so we go from the brow line to the nose, to the bottom of the nose. Now, look at that. It's an interesting distance. As I look at this photograph here, this distance is very long. It seems long to me. So I'm going to come down here and put a little mark just like that. Ooh, look at that. I almost got too far ahead of myself here. Let's do that. There. All right. Yes, this reference looks like a watercolor to start looking forward. It could be. It's a possibility. Okay, that's the bottom of my nose. Now, the distance, let's look at this here. I'm going to help you along here a little bit. All right, so there's our brow line. There's the bottom of our nose. There's our center line. There's our chin. You see that? So the distance, I think the distance from the bottom of the nose to the chin is a little bit less. Usually when I'm drawing a head, sometimes I'll think of it as thirds. Like this is the hairline right up there. So this would be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. But that's just a general rule. So in this case, I think we're going to come down not quite as far. Okay, right about there. That looks pretty good to me. So let's make some more adjustments to our overall drawing here. All right, we're going to start off. We are going to start off looking at the big picture here. All right. Okay, we have that. Let's come in here now, and then our mouth. Where's our mouth? Our mouth is going to be right about, probably a little bit higher, right about there. And then our eye line, let's just kind of quickly drop some of these places in and we'll come back and work it. Oh, good. You started drawing on your pictures as well. All right. Let's start with the glabella. Now look at this now. The head comes down and then the glabella like goes inward. That's why right here it's a little bit shadowed. You see in our picture here? This little area, all right? That gets a little shadowed a lot of times. So let's come in here. Draw this lightly here, because this is a young person. And when they're young, you don't want to draw like their nose features so defined, all right? All right, so this is the tip of their nose right there, like that. And then you want to look at that little bit of overlap I'm doing right there. I'm going to come right down. With that nostril. So over here, it's like this. There's the nostril. Look at the picture now. Something like this. And then this ends up getting shadowed because this is going back in space a little bit. So we'll come down here. Plus, I darken it just a little bit right there. That creates like a little bit of a core shadow. You see that? Right there at the edge. All right, let's come down here and get these lips. And whenever I draw the lips, I always start with that V. Look, I've made a slight adjustment as I'm drawing this. I hope it doesn't come back and bite me. Look, now look at the top part of his mouth. This whole section of the mouth is built on something that's round. You see this? Round. Look at this. See how round that is? So this whole first section is just, think of a ball. Think of a ball behind this. And it will kind of help you draw your lips a little bit better. There's the corner. Look at that. Look at that corner of the mouth. You know, right now we're today, let me just say this. I have a great class called the Daily Draw. And we get together every single day for about 40 minutes. And today did a whole lesson of how to draw teeth. Last week we did a deep dive into drawing lips. So I will post a link for that in the comments if you're interested. Okay, so there's our upper lip. And with the lips, look, corners of the mouth, you get that V, and then you bring it together here, and then you top lip there overlaps. This is a general way to draw lips. Hey, there's my museum visitor, Miss Anne Marie. We had a couple weeks, was it last week? Yeah, last week a bunch of us went to New York. That was a lot of fun. This is going to be on YouTube forever, but if you get this between now and August, in August we're going to go to Philadelphia on a museum's exhibit. If you're interested, join our Facebook group. That's when you'll get the information, right? Okay, let's get back to this bottom lip here. Look at this. Flat, look at that. It's coming around here just like that. And don't shy away from getting that nice little dark spot in the corners. Go ahead and darken in the upper lip and drop a little shadow. Look at this little shadow underneath those the bottom lip there, and this ends up kind of defining our chin. Sometimes you draw things not by drawing them. You can draw things by their shadow. I mean, really, that's all we're doing. We're just using line. We're using line to describe form. Okay, as I get further in this, I'm thinking like, wow, my head is pretty wide. I'm not sure what yours looks like, but this is why we keep it light, and then we can keep making some adjustments. Okay, I'm not gonna put anything on the bridge of this nose. I'm just gonna leave it. This will create, if you want your drawings to look youthful, then don't draw that bridge of the nose there. All right, let's come over here and put a teardrop or a little dot for the corner of the eye. And usually the corners of the eye line up with the wings of the nose, the tear ducts. And the corners of the mouth a lot of times will line up with the pupils of the eye. So I got to move mine over just a tad bit here. Okay, as I look at these eyes, they're not straight, they're kind of up. So the outside edge is going to be a little bit, see how it's a little bit higher. And I'm even going to push this out just a little bit further. I did a drawing earlier, and I noticed that the right eye yes, you got that, AJ. It's oh, I don't even want to try and pronounce that word, but I had a friend who was a painter, and he would often say that. That's how he would paint. He wouldn't use line. He would just define his form with that word. I'm sure someone there out there is yelling at me right now. But Chiro Crusoe. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch a YouTube video of how to pronounce that. But yes, that's a great. Look at you, AJ. Look at you, AJ, Mr. Anime expert, dropping in those French words. To think back when those dumb kids said you could never draw, and here you are, right? using academics word. No, that's the way he painted. He painted with that technique. Okay, look at these pupils line up at the corner, and I'm also kind of looking at the picture as well. So, and they're hanging from the top. You know, AJ, I just pointed you in the right direction. You did all the hard work. All right, and that's really what that's really what it takes to be a good artist. It's not talent. It's not talent. It's just sheer will of practice. And I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where they talk about like, oh, you've got to practice right. Well, there's truth to that, but man, I find it hard sometimes just to pick something up and go through the effort of doing it. Whites of the eyes. Look at those whites of the eyes. We've got some. They're not whites. I add a little value, and then look at this underneath the eye. I'm leaving. Don't forget to leave just that sliver. That might be too much there. Don't forget to leave that little bit of sliver. There it is. Of light right underneath the eye like that. And then look at this. We got this chiricozo. No, chiricozo. I'm trying to remember how to say that. He had me when I was learning. When he was kind of showing me. By the guy's name is Ken Lager. He was a book illustrator. And we would sit there and paint with oil paint pillowcases because they had everything that you needed. All right, look, I'm coming in here now and I'm outlining this kid's eyebrow. Chiaroscuro. Okay. All right, look at this. Let's keep going here. Outlining these eyebrows. Really thinking like this is I'm thinking about these things as being round, not so much. Not flat. All right, let's kind of come in here and start looking for the cheeks there. Haven't really done the cheeks yet. I'm gonna add a little bit of tone here, because look at that. That just aged this kid quite a bit by adding that little extra tone. All right, still adjusting the side of his head here. So let's see. Here's the cheekbone coming in right like this, and then I think when I draw, I think of myself as like carving away, taking away. I start something and then it starts to form it, right? Look at this ear. Where's this? Where top of the ear is coming over here. Right, look at this ear right here. Look, there's the front of the ear, and then the back side is here. You see that? And then we have the Y of the ear, and it's this little part that comes down just like that. And then the targus. Where's Lynn Portnoy? Is she here? Because if I didn't say that right, she's gonna correct me. Oh. Look at this ear here. And we drop a little shade up the top there. Look at that. Just like that. In the ear you have the a C, and usually you have the letter Y. If you can nail those two things, you're in business. All right, let's come over here now and get this a little more shadow over here. Tragus. Target. It's tragus. It's not targus. All right. I once had an art teacher once who said, don't worry about the names of things, just make sure you know how to draw them. I don't know, Chris. I thought it was a girl. I thought it was a girl at first, and then I started like looking closely. I thought, I don't, I don't know in today's culture. I have no idea. I don't know. So, there you go. Okay, let's keep going here. Let's get this hair here. I did it. When I first grabbed the picture, I thought, oh, this is a girl. And then as I started looking at it this afternoon, I thought, I don't know anymore. And then I thought, well, it's too late. I've already sent everything out. Okay, let's see here. Come across here. Look at that. We got this. Earlobe over here. More in silhouette, right? And then check this out. This is beautiful. This neck is coming off just like that, and don't forget to draw that, because that's something cool about this pose, where they are facing to the right but then turning to the left, and you could a lot of times see this tendon that's coming down just like that. Okay, let's draw this hair here. So let me slide this over just a bit so I have a little more space. In fact, I'm going to make the picture just a little bit smaller here. We'll just do that. And then slide that over. I'm going to move these little side drawings here. All right. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's think of when we're drawing hair, let's think of a sculpture, all right? I think of really like how would I draw this if it was a piece of clay? So if this was a piece of clay, you know, I'm gonna put it down there, the contour first. Okay, there's a good contour. And then I'm going to break this down. I'm going to think of like, okay, this area is underneath, and then, you know, it's coming over the back, and so this is kind of folding under here, you see? This is in the distant. So right now, I'm just going to add some value to this. Add the value first before you start. And think of a sphere. You know, you're shading the hair. You got to think of a sphere that you're trying to create a ball of. So first thing I want to do is I want to make sure we have dark hair here. All right. And now I'm going to kind of go in and start to pull out grouping of hair, like that, you see? And then within this grouping, I can all right, so let's do another grouping over here maybe. And then maybe come way over here. And look at that little overlap right there. You see what I just did? And then as this tucks underneath here, I'm going to add a little more value. All right. Now, usually in the back of the hair, I like to drop in like silhouette. Because then this will really push a shape. Shapes are so great when you start applying them to what you're drawing. But think of hair not as individual strands, but grouping. You're doing silhouette and grouping. You know, and this is interesting, AJ. You just brought up that you still struggle with hair. Well, you know, even I struggle with hair, but what history has told me is that it's repetition. I've got to just keep drawing it over and over again. But using, you could use. I always say use statues, use busts, and draw like, you know, get used to drawing like a. Here's like a. Let's pretend like this was a piece of clay. You know, you might see something like this. You know, where there's form and volume. But I really think if you focus on grouping the hair and then silhouette is a great approach. And when you draw your eyes, you know, look, I'm adding a little bit of value. 1, 2, 3, S curve. When you're drawing your eyes, make sure you add a little bit of shadow from that eyelid on top. All right, let's keep going here. Almost done. Let's see, look at this. Look at this over here. This is kind of in shadow. I gotta get rid of my little line there. There's a little bit of shadow underneath the nose. And if you darken, if you come in here, now this might not be in the picture, but if you darken that little edge there, look at that. You really can create a real nice core shadow. That's going to give a sense of the roundness of the face. Look at this, I almost forgot this shadow down over here. All right, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. Hopefully you picked something up new. I always find when if I read something new, it's always good to keep reading, keep studying. And you'll just keep acquiring more and more knowledge. All right, I think that's going to do it. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully that was helpful. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure you like and subscribe. I'll put the link for the Facebook group in the comments, along with a link to sign up for the daily draw. All right, Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Whole crew. See you guys later.